Financial Review, interesting editorial that they had today, which is that both the Labor Party and the Liberal Party should both focus on aspiration. Now, everyone will agree with that. You're not going to not get a dinner party or a barbecue lunch that people won't agree with that. But let's get into what they are trying to talk about here. Here's part of the editorial that they published today. The traditional Labor left values of Brian Howe, that someone should contribute something, have given way to a modern Labor's pitch to provide subsidised childcare to rich families, as an example that they're taking on for the Labor Party.
That sounds less like aspiration and more like redistribution.
Well, that's what they suggested things have turned into, right? Which is that it's all about the fistful of dollars. Now, Bronwyn, again, I get that we could take up the rest of the hour with the philosophy, and we're getting a bit into the philosophy here. But what do you think aspiration means, and how does that fit the conservative mindset? Like, how would you sell somebody on a conservative idea through aspiration? Doing like your old game show.
First of all, it needs to begin with the philosophy of individualism, that people who are aspirational want to be known for their individuality, what they personally can achieve, what they can do for their families. It's much more than money. It's about where they see themselves fitting into contributing to the country. And that's a very important philosophical aspiration, to know that as an individual, that they can have a say in what happens in their country. So if you are a collectivist, you are identified as part of that collective. The Black Lives Matter movement, you're considered to be, because you are a black person, you must think this way. So individuality goes. That is not an aspirational movement. Aspirational movements are all about individuals being able to acquire their home, to be able to provide a good education for their kids, about providing a job that is satisfying. And those are the things that happen when you get people who come from other countries who understand what oppression is like, and they move into this country and they see opportunity and that they can take advantage of it. That's why, and I'll go back to my own active participation when as party president in the 80s. I had an office in the west of Sydney. I worked with the people of Western Sydney because I believed in their aspirations and their right to have a say in the way in which this country moved and the contribution they could make. And I wanted those people to be, those voices represented in the Parliament. Jackie Kelly was the first one we got up.
Right. Joe, what does it mean for you?
My comment earlier was actually about the Brian Howe philosophy,
yes.
Obviously, not about what Labor has turned into. I'm not sure that is exactly what it's turned into anyway, but I think, firstly, you should not... There's a couple of things. One is that
it's a big
the
question.
vast majority of people... No, and it's one I think about all the time. In fact, I ended up writing a column on exactly this topic that was published on Tuesday, on the same day, unbeknownst to me, that The Australian published the election post-mortem by the official Labor Party's arm, which found exactly the same thing, which is that... the party is at risk of losing the suburbs if it becomes too preoccupied with inner city, what I would call sort of parlour room politics, where you have these abstract or very long-term values like climate change or integrity that, frankly, most ordinary working people do not have time to worry about and probably wouldn't worry too much about it even if they did. The vast majority of people are anxious about their security, about their children's future, about making sure their kids can afford a house, about making sure that they can hold on to their own house, and about keeping the family together, because the family is
Joe,
what
you're doing
means
quite
more.
well for a collectivist.
Thank you very much. That means because family is what means more to them than anything else. Well, it is also why out in the suburbs that really matter, it is all Labor right MPs who hold the seats, whereas in the affluent inner city seats, it is all the Labor left, and they're the ones that are under attack from the Greens and the Teals, who are likewise affluent enough and rich enough to be able to worry about these sort of things. What do I really believe in? What do I really want my government to look like? Most voters say, what will you do for me to make my life, my family's life, my well-being, my job and my house more secure? And that is what government should be focused on.
I want to give James a
They say,
chance.
They say, get out of my life so I can make the decisions for
Yes.
me and my family. And I have the aspirations. I don't need government to tell me what my aspirations are.
So this is the thing,
That's the big difference.
This is why it's a philosophical.
But not everyone.
Yes, it is.
But everyone
Right,
has a
Joe.
degree. No, everyone has a degree of government intervention or involvement in their lives. Whether it's the roads you drive on, the train you take to
Never
work,
used to
how
be,
much
Joe.
how much income tax you pay.
No. No,
but
it used to be that. Now they want to
Medicare
tell you
is a
what
benefit
think.
to working people.
In the schooling system, they
obviously, but that is what
ideology
I'm.
there, you must
That is what
believe
I'm
this,
disagreeing with.
must
That
Guys,
Well,
give me a chance to get James in.
Government should be there to improve people's well-being economically. It should not be there to lecture them about ideology or what they should and shouldn't think. But it should be there to support them economically.
Voting Liberal yet.
Well, if the Liberal government provides for the working class as much as the
We
Labor
do.
government does,